There's a truth few dare to speak aloud. You're not just living in a moment, you're experiencing a slice of a much broader reality. The fourth dimension, where past, present, and future coexist, isn't a distant theory. It's accessible now through a specific method documented by Neville Goddard. This knowledge isn't part of academic curricula for a reason. When someone realizes they can consciously select which version of the future to live, not attract, not manifest, but choose from already existing possibilities, they step outside the bounds of control. Why do billions operate on autopilot, reacting to life and unknowingly shaping chaotic outcomes? The answer is surprisingly simple. In the twilight space between waking and sleep, your awareness can shift across dimensions. You mentally enter a scene from your chosen future, participate in it, and feel it as if it's already real. The reflective universe has no choice but to reorganize itself to match your internal decision. While most remain trapped in the linear logic of three-dimensional cause and effect, a select few have tapped into this deeper understanding. They've discovered they're not the screen, they're the projector. Humanity built its own prison of dimensional limitation, and the key to escape has always been within the mind, though only a few have known how to use it. This is a precise method of reality manipulation, once understood by ancient sages and now slowly rediscovered through quantum science. The secret lies in grasping that time, as we perceive it, is a construct, an illusion of the third dimension. In the fourth dimension, all moments exist simultaneously. By mastering specific mental techniques, anyone can access this realm and choose the future they wish to experience. Neville Goddard, one of the rare individuals who dared to share this publicly in the 20th century, documented the process in detail. His works, such as Out of This World, offer practical guidance based on first-hand interaction with the multidimensional nature of consciousness. Mainstream education and religious institutions have long suppressed or ridiculed this knowledge. Why? Because if people understood they could rewrite their destiny through directed imagination, the entire framework of societal control would collapse. How can you keep someone dependent and obedient once they realize they are the conscious architect of their own reality? Here's the essential truth: there is no external deity dictating human fate. What religions call God is actually a quantum field, a supreme, universal awareness. These terms all point to the same underlying reality. This field is impersonal and perfectly responsive. It reflects exactly what each individual consciousness projects. It's a cosmic mirror, devoid of will, judgment, or preference. And it's built with a crucial feature: voluntary forgetting. Every soul, upon entering the three-dimensional experience, agrees to temporarily forget its divine nature. It's like stepping into a hyperrealistic simulation so immersive that the player forgets they're playing. This veil of amnesia isn't punishment, it's part of the design. It's what makes the experience feel real and gives free will its true significance. But here's the paradox: even though we've forgotten our creative power, the mechanism of creation never stops. It continues every moment, driven by unconscious assumptions, habitual fears, and conditioned thought patterns. Each person is actively shaping their future. Human suffering doesn't stem from a punishing God or malevolent forces, it arises from the chaotic, unconscious use of this creative energy. This video lays out the actual mechanics of how consciousness interacts with the fabric of dimensional reality to generate tangible experiences. These are tested, proven techniques that allow anyone to take deliberate control of the process and begin choosing which of the infinite futures to live. Whether you believe in it or not, this knowledge operates independently of belief. The only question is, are you ready to accept radical responsibility and recognize that you've always been the sole creator of your reality? Because once this understanding is truly grasped and applied, the concept of fate dissolves. What remains are unconscious or conscious creators. To learn how to mentally shape the future, you must first understand the structure of reality itself, a framework that remains hidden because it challenges everything we've been taught about what's possible. The first dimension appears as a single point, pure existence, unconnected to anything else. This is consciousness in its raw form, simple, yet limited. When 2 points connect, the second dimension emerges, a realm of lines, length, and width. It's like living on a sheet of paper, unaware of what lies above or below. The third dimension, where humanity believes it solely resides, adds depth and height. Here, we navigate through space using our five senses, but remain bound by a linear view of time. And within this temporal prison lies the greatest deception. The fourth dimension isn't science fiction or abstract math. It's a real, accessible domain where time unfolds as it truly is, a field where every moment, past, present, and future, exists at once. Just as the second dimension is a shadow cast by the third, our three-dimensional world is merely a fragment of the fourth. Through direct experimentation, Neville Goddard discovered that we possess a mental faculty that allows us to transcend sensory limits and consciously access this higher realm. That faculty is creative imagination, guided by intent, not idle fantasy, but the ability to think and feel in four-dimensional terms. Each person holds within them two fundamentally different perspectives on existence, though most remain unaware of this duality. The first is the natural focus, the mind governed by physical senses, what ancient texts called the carnal mind. It accepts only what can be seen, touched, or measured. This is the mind of the natural man, who looks at current conditions and declares them unchangeable. The second perspective is spiritual focus, steered by conscious imagination and fueled by desire. Ancient masters referred to it as the mind of Christ, not in a religious sense, but as a state of awareness that recognizes its creative power. This mind sees beyond appearances, pierces the veil of the sensory world, and perceives endless possibilities waiting to be realized. The ingrained habit of trusting only the senses creates a kind of voluntary blindness. It's like living in a dark cave, holding a flashlight that only illuminates stone walls, while ignoring the sunlit exit just behind you. To develop spiritual vision, the ability to perceive beyond the three-dimensional world, you must intentionally free your mind from sensory evidence. This requires mental discipline. You must direct your attention toward unseen states, feeling them within so vividly that they gain the clarity and texture of physical reality. A focused and sustained thought in a specific direction has the power to silence all other sensory impressions, causing them to temporarily vanish from awareness. External reality functions like a magical mirror. It has no will, no agenda, no purpose other than to reflect what each consciousness projects onto it. Like a mirror that can only show what stands before it, reality responds to what we place in front of it. This principle governs all creation. The system of perfect reflection isn't random, it exists because the unified, universal consciousness seeks to know itself through an infinite array of unique perspectives. Your freedom to choose is sacred and untouchable, because without it, there would be no true adventure, only a predetermined script with no meaning. When someone holds a new image of themselves in imagination, infused with unwavering belief, the universe's mirror must adjust to reflect that new reality. In the physical world, this adjustment appears as a series of synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, and inexplicable shifts in circumstances. But in truth, it's simply the mirror aligning with the new projected image. Understanding these core principles unlocks the path to true mental alchemy, the conscious transformation of present limitations into the gold of a desired future. Desire isn't a weakness to be overcome, despite what some doctrines claim. It's the fuel for spiritual evolution, requiring discipline, not denial. Desire is the engine behind all movement and creation, it's the driving force of the universe. Without it, not even the smallest action would occur. This principle is as absolute as gravity, yet its influence is far more profound. Look closely, the only desires that truly move us are the ones that seize and hold our attention. Countless fleeting impulses pass through the mind each day, but only those that anchor our focus gain the power to reshape reality. There's a truth many moralists prefer to ignore: every desire carries a personal benefit. Purely selfless longing doesn't exist. If there's nothing to gain, the desire doesn't arise, and without desire, no action follows. This perceived selfishness isn't a flaw in the cosmic design, it's the very feature that makes individual creation possible. The one fragmented itself into infinite perspectives to experience the thrill of longing, seeking, and fulfillment through each unique point of awareness. To suppress personal desire is like asking the heart to stop beating, it goes against the essence of existence. The path to realizing bold dreams lies in radical practice. In immediate obedience to the voice of deep desire, not the fleeting whims of the surface mind, but the persistent yearning that emerges from the core of your being and refuses to be silenced. When such a desire arises, the correct response isn't to question its morality or legitimacy, but to recognize that its presence confirms the existence of a path to its fulfillment. To truly desire a state is to already possess it in the fourth dimension. This isn't poetic, it's literal. Desire is proof that the outcome already exists as a viable reality, waiting for your conscious selection. The only question is, will you accept the feeling of already having what you seek? This is where the most misunderstood and revolutionary principle of mental science comes into play. Living from the feeling of fulfilled desire reshapes the future to match your inner conviction. It's not about pretending or self-deception. It's about acknowledging that in the fourth dimension, where all possible futures coexist, you choose your timeline based on the state of consciousness you maintain now. The mechanism is precise. When you consistently hold the feeling of already being the person you wish to become, already possessing what you desire, you tune your awareness to the frequency of that reality. The reflective universe, whose only function is to mirror, must reorganize itself to manifest externally what you sustain internally. So why is this knowledge hidden from most? Why do billions live and die without ever discovering this power? The answer lies in the veil of forgetting that every consciousness accepts upon entering this dimension. You and the infinite are literally one, not metaphorically, not philosophically, but factually. Yet to make the earthly journey feel real, you chose to forget your divine nature. It's like stepping into a virtual simulation so immersive that you temporarily believe you're the character, forgetting you're the player. If you retained full awareness of your role as the creator of every experience, where would be the challenge, the surprise, the growth? Forgetting is what makes the adventure meaningful. This veil of amnesia explains the central paradox of human life. People ask how a loving God could allow suffering, but they're starting from a false premise. There is no separate deity granting or denying experiences. Each of us, through unconscious use of the law of being, generates our own reality. The cosmic mirror doesn't judge whether your actions are wise or reckless, it simply reflects. When you act from fear, chaos, or destruction, the mirror returns those same patterns, not because the universe is cruel, but because it's perfectly impartial. It's a flawless system in its simplicity. You receive exactly what you are, no more, no less. Humanity's tragedy isn't the system itself, it's the ignorance of how it works. Billions wield this immense creative power blindly, creating by default rather than design, and harvesting results that seem random but are actually precise reflections of their inner states. Years of rigorous experimentation with consciousness have revealed a clear formula for accessing the fourth dimension and consciously selecting a desired future. This isn't just one technique among many, it's the foundational method discovered by those who've truly mastered the art of mental creation. The first step demands surgical clarity. You must define exactly what you want. Vague wishes for happiness or success are useless here. The fourth-dimensional mechanism responds only to precise instructions. Just as a quantum computer can't process ambiguous commands, you must know with absolute certainty the state you wish to inhabit. The second step is more subtle and requires deeper insight. You must mentally construct a scene that would naturally occur after your desire has been fulfilled. Not during, but after. This scene must clearly imply that your goal has already been achieved, and you must be an active participant, not a passive observer. If you're aiming for a promotion, don't imagine receiving the news. Instead, picture a casual conversation weeks later where the promotion is mentioned as a done deal. The third step defies modern productivity norms. It involves complete physical stillness and deliberately entering the liminal space between waking and sleep. Lie down or relax deeply in a chair, close your eyes, and let your body fade into the background. This isn't the time for physical action, it's the time for dimensional movement. In this state of bodily stillness and heightened mental agility, your attention must be fully absorbed in the imagined scene. You must feel yourself performing the action now, not tomorrow, not when conditions align, but now. The fourth dimension doesn't recognize linear time. To it, your vivid imagination and your physical experience carry equal weight. This is the critical distinction that separates successful practitioners from perpetual strugglers. You must engage in the imagined act as a participant, not watch it unfold like a movie. Here's the next segment of your audiobook translation, fully reimagined in English with immersive clarity and emotional depth, while preserving the original meaning. Many people visualize their desires as if watching a movie starring themselves. But this passive approach is ineffective. You must step into the scene, see through your imagined eyes, feel the textures, hear the sounds, and experience the emotions as though you're physically present. Practice reveals a surprising truth: it's far more powerful to focus on a single, condensed act and repeat it obsessively until it becomes saturated with sensory detail. Trying to construct elaborate storylines scatters your mental energy. One simple gesture. A handshake of congratulations, the touch of a wedding ring, the signing of a specific document, when felt with enough intensity, carries more creative force than hours of elaborate daydreaming. There's a particularly potent method for those who struggle with vivid visualization. In a relaxed, drowsy state, mentally repeat a short phrase that implies your desire has already come true. "Thank you" is especially effective, because it presupposes receipt. For more assertive minds, the phrase, "it is done," works well. This becomes a kind of dimensional mantra, a vibrational key that aligns your consciousness with the reality you seek. Timing is critical. If your goal is a deep, conscious projection into the fourth dimension, you must continue the practice until sleep arrives naturally. Don't force it. Let sleep come on its own, while holding the feeling of fulfilled desire. It's in that transitional moment between wakefulness and sleep that the veil between dimensions is at its thinnest. But here's what no modern guru will tell you: this practice demands what society resists most: sustained mental discipline without instant results. In an age of immediate gratification, you're asked to plant dimensional seeds and trust laws your senses can't yet confirm. You must feel in imagination with the same clarity you would in real life, experiencing what you would feel if your goal were already achieved, and hold that feeling even when the three-dimensional world insists nothing has changed. This process requires a kind of controlled duality, living in two realities until they merge into one. By day, you move through the visible world, fulfilling your physical obligations. But during practice, you fully inhabit the reality where your desire is already realized. This isn't denial or escapism, it's dimensional engineering. Failure in this practice usually stems from one of three causes: lack of clarity in your goal, passive observation instead of active participation, and premature abandonment when physical senses show no immediate change. The universe tests the depth of your commitment through the visible gap between mental planting and physical harvest. Assumptions operate like mental viruses. Once embedded in consciousness, they infect the surrounding reality until the external world is forced to conform. This isn't metaphor, it's a literal description of how mental premises crystallize into physical facts. Fill your mind with a message, any statement you accept as truth, and watch the phenomenon unfold. Even if the assumption feels completely unrealistic to your senses, if you hold it long enough for it to become internally tangible, it begins to exert an invisible but unstoppable influence on every aspect of your world. For an assumption held with unwavering conviction, all pathways to its fulfillment become not just possible, but inevitable. The mechanism is elegant in its precision. At first, your assumption subtly reshapes your own behavior in ways you don't even notice. Your gestures shift, your tone changes, and the micro-expressions on your face begin to reflect the reality you've mentally accepted. Then, like a dimensional domino effect, it begins to influence those around you, prompting movement, actions, and words that align with your internal premise. People who've never offered help before suddenly appear, offering exactly what's needed. Obstacles that once seemed immovable dissolve without explanation. Coincidences that defy logic unfold with surgical precision. A skeptic might call it luck or confirmation bias. But those who understand the deeper mechanics recognize the unmistakable signature of an assumption materializing through the layers of reality. And here's the conclusion that few are ready to face: if all change begins in consciousness, then no external force determines your destiny. None. The future, though it may appear fixed and predetermined, actually exists as a spectrum of possibilities within the fourth dimension. At every moment, you stand at a crossroads. Which version of the future will you select through your present state of mind? This realization should be liberating, but for many, it's terrifying. It demands radical responsibility for every aspect of your experience. There's no longer room to blame circumstances, other people, governments, economies, planets, karma, or any external force. You are where you are because it's a mathematical reflection of your persistent assumptions. The quantum field, whether you call it God, the All, or something else, has no agenda of its own. It responds entirely to you, shaping your experience according to your mental instructions. It's a perfect servant, not a master. It mirrors your sustained mental commands with absolute precision. But the command must come from you. Expecting the universe to decide your fate is like sitting in front of a powered-off computer and waiting for it to write your story. The trap billions fall into daily is this: they look for change in the outer world first. They check their bank account to see if money has arrived, watch their partner's behavior for signs of improvement, monitor symptoms to confirm healing. This is the operational definition of dimensional madness, searching the reflection for what must first change in the source. Before seeking external proof, the only question that matters is, who are you right now, in this moment? Not who you were yesterday, or who you hope to become tomorrow. Who are you now? If within, you feel trapped, limited, or lacking, the cosmic mirror has no choice but to reflect confinement, limitation, and scarcity. You can decorate your mental prison with positive thoughts, but it remains a prison. Real transformation begins when you internally accept the state of being you've chosen. Regardless of sensory evidence. You become mentally wealthy while your account is still empty. You feel loved even as you fall asleep alone. You sense health even when symptoms persist. This isn't denial, it's the understanding that inner reality always precedes and shapes outer reality. The time between internal shift and external manifestation may vary, but the sequence never changes. First comes the shift in consciousness. Then the world reorganizes to match it. Trying to reverse this order is like planting a seed today and digging it up tomorrow to check if it sprouted. Impatience kills more dreams than any external circumstance. Every moment presents a dimensional fork. You can choose to react to what your senses report, thereby repeating the past in your future. Or you can respond from the state you've consciously selected, choosing which future to bring forth. The power has always been, and will always be, yours alone. The ability to think in 4 dimensions isn't a rare gift reserved for mystics or geniuses. It's an innate faculty, deliberately dulled by conditioning, but still fully operational in every human being. What's presented here isn't theory for intellectual debate, it's a practical guide to escaping the prison of linear time. The essence is simple. You live in a mental universe, where consciousness is the only substance and imagination the only force. The world your senses report is an effect, never a cause. Trying to change effects by manipulating other effects is the futile labor of a sleeping humanity. Awakening begins when you realize, on the level of lived experience, that only by altering your inner mental activity can you produce lasting external change. We live in a strange era, where the most guarded esoteric knowledge is now freely available. Yet humanity is more hypnotized by appearances than ever before. Millions meditate, recite affirmations, and visualize, but still operate from a fatal assumption, that they are separate beings trying to attract something from a reluctant universe. They don't realize they are the universe, experiencing itself through a temporary point of focus. The need for conscious awakening has never been greater. Not because of some looming cosmic event or closing window of opportunity. The urgency comes from a more sobering truth. Every day lived in ignorance is a day where you create by accident, not by intention. How many undesired futures are being selected right now by billions acting on autopilot? The global system of control depends entirely on this ignorance. A population that sees itself as a victim of circumstance is infinitely easier to manage than one that knows it is the architect of its own reality. That's why true knowledge is mocked as magical thinking, while learned helplessness is sold as realism. It's an ancient trick. And it still works flawlessly. Now you know the exact method, the precise mental technology for navigating the fourth dimension and choosing the future you wish to live. The temptation will be to treat this as interesting information and set it aside. But application requires what the modern mind resists most, sustained discipline without external guarantees. It demands action based on a law your senses cannot confirm until the results appear. If this message resonated with you, let me know. Leave the phrase, "beyond the source," in the comments. It's more than just words, it's a signal, a shared energetic code we send out into the universe together. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do so. That way, you won't miss the next wave of powerful insights and transformative practices. Don't forget to hit the like button, it helps this video reach other spiritual seekers, just like you. Until next time, dear friends.